That Tuesday morning in Manhattan, I walked into the glass tower on Fifth Avenue with a secret written across my face, purple and yellow, spreading like spilled ink across my jaw. Every step sent shockwaves through my skull. Every breath tasted like copper and regret. I thought I could hide it, the same way I'd learned to hide exhaustion, loneliness, the constant weight of doing everything alone. But before I could even reach my desk, she appeared. Not with her usual stack of contracts or that clipped tone that made junior executives flinch. She came holding a breakfast tray, steam still rising from the plate. And in that moment, standing there in her perfect charcoal suit with something almost like concern in her eyes, I realized I'd been wrong about Olivia Blackwell for 3 solid years. Let me take you back. My name is Marcus Hayes. For the past 3 years, I've been the personal secretary to Olivia Blackwell, CEO of Blackwell Strategy Group. Most people hear secretary and picture someone fetching coffee and forwarding emails. They're not completely off base, but working for Olivia means being 3 moves ahead at all times. It means anticipating what she needs before her brain fully forms the thought. It means making sure her world spins without a single wobble. It's relentless. It's also the most stable paycheck I've ever cashed. And when you're raising a 7-year-old daughter on your own in one of the most expensive cities on earth, stability isn't a luxury, it's oxygen. My daughter's name is Sophie. She's the reason my alarm goes off at 5:30 every single morning, the reason I keep granola bars in my desk drawer, and why I haven't walked away, even on the days when Olivia's impossible standards make me want to scream into the void. Sophie's mom left when she was 18 months old. No warning, no fight, just a note on the kitchen counter next to a wedding ring and half the closet empty. I spent that first year moving through fog, barely keeping my head above water. But Sophie needed me, and somewhere in the chaos of those early months, I figured out how to be both parents. I learned to French braid hair by watching YouTube tutorials at midnight. I mastered the art of packing lunches that wouldn't get traded away for cookies. I showed up to parent-teacher conferences without looking like I was drowning, even when I absolutely was. The boxing came later. A colleague mentioned this place in Brooklyn, said it helped him blow off steam after brutal weeks. I didn't think much of it at first, but one night, after Sophie fell asleep clutching that stuffed rabbit she's had since birth, I found myself standing outside Murphy's gym, staring at the red neon sign flickering in the window. I walked in, paid for a trial session, and spent an hour hitting a heavy bag until my knuckles bled through the wraps. It felt like waking up, not the pain, the release. For the first time in forever, I wasn't calculating bills or bedtime routines or whether I was completely screwing up my kid. I was just moving, breathing, existing in my body instead of the endless loop in my head. I started going twice a week, then 3 times. The coach, a former welterweight named Jimmy, who still moved like a dancer despite the gray in his beard, saw something in me, offered to train me properly. Nothing professional, just sparring sessions with other guys looking to work out their demons. It gave me something that belonged to me alone, something that had nothing to do with being dad or the guy who managed Olivia's impossible schedule. In that ring, I wasn't Marcus, the secretary, or Marcus, the single father. I was just Marcus, trying not to get my face rearranged. Olivia never asked about my personal life, and I never volunteered information. Our relationship existed in this professional no man's land, bordered by mutual respect and absolutely zero small talk. She was brilliant at what she did, the kind of person who could walk into a boardroom full of men twice her age and command the room without raising her voice a single decibel. People called her Cold, Ice Queen, the robot in Prada, and maybe they were right. She didn't laugh at jokes, didn't join the office for happy hour, barely said thank you. But she was fair. She never made me feel small. And after the parade of terrible bosses I'd survived before landing this job, that mattered more than warmth. That Monday night, I went to the gym like always. Jimmy paired me with someone new, a guy visiting from Boston who wanted a real session, not just cardio. I should have known better. He was bigger than me, faster, and I was already running on fumes from a 14-hour day. But I didn't back down. I never do. We went 3 rounds. In the last one, he caught me with a right hook that felt like getting hit by a truck.
My brain rattled inside my skull. The ropes caught me before I hit the canvas, but barely. When I touched my face afterwards, my jaw felt like broken glass grinding together. Jimmy handed me an ice pack and told me to take the week off. I nodded, but we both knew I wouldn't. I couldn't afford to miss work, not with rent due and Sophie's tuition payment coming up. Besides, I'd been hurt before. Bruises healed. You just had to push through. I got home around 9, picked Sophie up from Mrs. Chen next door, who watches her on gym nights, and got her ready for bed. She asked about my face, her small hand reaching up to touch the swelling with the kind of gentle concern that breaks your heart. I told her I got hit during practice, that it looked worse than it felt. She frowned, clearly unconvinced, but she was too tired to argue. I tucked her in, kissed her forehead, and sat in the kitchen for a long while, holding that ice pack against my jaw and wondering if I was getting too old for this particular brand of therapy. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I was in a car accident. My face was swollen, the bruise spreading from my jawline up to my cheekbone in shades of purple, blue, and yellow. Every time I moved my mouth, lightning shot through my skull. I stood in front of that bathroom mirror, examining the damage. It was bad, visible, the kind of thing people notice and ask questions about. I thought about calling in sick, but then I thought about my bank account, about the fact that Olivia had a board meeting scheduled that afternoon, and she needed me there. So I swallowed 4 ibuprofen, put on my best shirt, and drove into the city. When I walked through the lobby, the receptionist did a double take, but didn't say anything. I made it to my desk without running into anyone else, which felt like a small miracle. I sat down, opened my laptop, and started going through Olivia's schedule. Back-to-back meetings until lunch, conference call at 2, board meeting at 4. I needed to prep documents, confirm attendees, make sure the presentation slides were flawless. Normal stuff. I could do this. I could absolutely do this. Olivia's door was closed, which meant she was already in. She usually arrived before me, often by an hour or more. I had no idea what she did during that time, but I suspected it involved reviewing reports and drafting emails in that precise, unforgiving tone she was famous for. I figured I could avoid her for at least the first hour, maybe longer if luck was on my side. I was wrong.
10 minutes later, her door opened. She stepped out wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her dark hair pulled back in a way that made her look even sharper than usual. She glanced at me, and I saw her eyes flicker to my face. For a second, just a second, something shifted in her expression, but it was gone before I could name it. She walked toward me, those heels clicking against the marble floor like a countdown. I straightened in my chair, bracing myself for whatever was about to happen. But she didn't say anything. She just stood there, looking at me with that unreadable expression. And for the first time since I'd started working for her, I had absolutely no idea what she was thinking. Then she turned and walked back into her office. The door clicked shut. I exhaled, realizing I'd been holding my breath. Maybe she hadn't noticed. Maybe I'd get through the day without having to explain myself. I went back to my computer, trying to focus, but my hands were shaking, and I couldn't tell if it was from the pain or from the strange intensity of her gaze. The first hour passed in a blur of emails and typos and pain. Around 8:45, Olivia's door opened again. She stepped out holding a folder, her expression composed as ever. She walked to my desk and set it down. Her voice was calm, businesslike, exactly the way it always was. But then she left and came back 5 minutes later carrying something I never expected to see in her hands, a tray. On it was a covered plate, a cup of coffee, and a glass of water. The smell hit me first. Warm, savory, real food. My stomach clenched with sudden, desperate hunger. I hadn't eaten breakfast. I'd barely eaten dinner the night before. She set the tray down on the edge of my desk, careful not to disturb the papers I'd been working on. I stared at it, then up at her, completely lost. "What is this?" "Breakfast," she said simply. "You need to eat." I didn't know what to say. In 3 years, Olivia Blackwell had never brought me anything. Not coffee, not lunch, not even a bottle of water on the longest days.
She wasn't cruel, but she wasn't nurturing either. She was my boss, and I was her employee, and that was the extent of our relationship. "I don't understand," I said, which sounded ridiculous the moment it left my mouth. She pulled the cover off the plate. Scrambled eggs, toast, a side of fresh fruit. Steam rose from the eggs, and my stomach growled loudly enough that I was certain she heard it. "You're not functioning at full capacity," she said, her tone as matter-of-fact as if she were discussing quarterly projections. "You need food and rest. Since I can't send you home, the least I can do is make sure you eat." I looked at the tray again, then back at her. There was something surreal about the whole situation. Olivia Blackwell, the woman who barely acknowledged birthdays, had just brought me breakfast. Homemade breakfast, by the look of it. "Did you cook this?" "Yes." The single word hung in the air between us. I didn't know how to process it. Olivia didn't seem like the kind of person who cooked. She seemed like the kind of person who survived on coffee and takeout sushi. But here she was, standing in front of me with a home-cooked meal, looking completely unbothered by how strange this was. "Eat," she said, her voice firm but not unkind. "Then finish those contracts. I'll push the 10:30 to 11. Before I could respond, she turned and walked back to her office. I was left alone with the tray. I stared at it for a long time, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Finally, I picked up the fork and took a bite. They were good. Better than good, actually. Seasoned perfectly, cooked just right. I ate slowly, savoring each bite, and with every swallow, I felt a little more human. By the time I finished, the pain in my jaw had dulled to a manageable ache. The food helped, but it was more than that. It was the gesture itself, the fact that someone had noticed I was struggling and done something about it. I couldn't remember the last time anyone had taken care of me like that. Not since Sophie's mom left. Not since I'd learned to do everything myself. Later that afternoon, after a meeting where I somehow managed to keep up despite the fog in my head, Olivia came back out. She stopped in front of my desk. She looked like she was deciding something, weighing her words with an unusual care. "I'm going to ask you a question, and I want an honest answer." I nodded, suddenly nervous. "Is everything all right at home?" The question hit me harder than that right hook had. I opened my mouth to say yes, to brush it off like I always did, but something in her gaze stopped me. She wasn't asking out of politeness. She genuinely wanted to know. "It's fine," I said carefully. "Just the usual single-parent chaos. Work, kid, trying to keep it all together." "And the boxing?" I hesitated. This was the part I didn't talk about, the part that felt too personal, too vulnerable. "It helps," I said finally. "With the stress. Gives me somewhere to let it out." She didn't say anything for a moment. Then she did something I'd never seen her do before. She sat down in the chair across from my desk, folded her hands in her lap, looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "I know what it's like," she said quietly, "feeling like you have to hold everything together on your own, like asking for help means admitting you're not strong enough." I stared at her, completely thrown. Olivia Blackwell, the most self-sufficient person I'd ever met, was telling me she understood. "I don't talk about it," she continued, her voice steady but softer than I'd ever heard it. "But I grew up in foster care, 9 different homes before I aged out. I learned early that if I wanted something, I had to get it myself, that if I showed weakness, someone would use it against me." I'd never heard Olivia talk about her past, never even thought to wonder about it. She always seemed so complete, so untouchable. I'm not saying our situations are the same, but I recognize the signs, the way you push through exhaustion, the way you don't ask for help even when you need it, the way you show up no matter what. She leaned forward slightly. "You don't have to do that here, not with me." The words settled over me like a weight and a relief at all once. I wanted to believe her, but I'd spent so long being the only person I could rely on that I didn't know how to let that go. That night, after I picked up Sophie and made dinner and helped with homework and read bedtime stories, I sat in the kitchen with a cup of tea, replaying the day in my head. The pain in my jaw had dulled to a background ache, but the shift I felt inside was harder to name. It wasn't exactly relief or gratitude, though those were both there. It was something deeper, a loosening of the grip I'd kept on everything for so long. The next morning, I woke up without an alarm for the first time in months. Sunlight streamed through the bedroom window, and I lay there for a minute, just breathing. My jaw still hurt, but less than yesterday. Olivia had insisted I take the day off. At first, I'd argued, but she was firm in that way of hers that left no room for negotiation. So I got up, made breakfast for Sophie, dropped her off at school, and then went back home and did nothing. I didn't check email, I didn't plan, I just sat on the couch, drank coffee, and let myself rest.
Around noon, my phone buzzed with a text. Olivia's name on the screen. "How are you feeling?" I stared at the message for a moment, then typed back, "Better, thank you for yesterday." Her response came a minute later. "Good, see you tomorrow." Short, professional, classic Olivia. But I found myself smiling anyway. When I came back the next day, the bruise had faded to a dull yellow, less noticeable now. I walked into the office feeling more like myself, and when I sat down at my desk, Olivia came out almost immediately. "Welcome back." "Thanks. How did yesterday go?" "Fine. Nothing I couldn't handle." She set a folder on my desk the same way she always did and went over the schedule. Everything back to normal. Except it wasn't quite normal, because something had changed. Over the next few weeks, we settled into a new rhythm. Olivia was still demanding, still precise, still the same sharp CEO she'd always been. But there were small shifts, subtle ones. She asked how Sophie was doing. She noticed when I looked tired and told me to take breaks. She brought coffee to my desk on mornings when she knew I had a lot on my plate. And I started letting her, not in big ways, but in small ones. I stopped pretending I had everything under control all the time. I asked for help when I needed it. I let myself be human instead of a machine. One Friday afternoon, after a particularly brutal week, Olivia stopped by my desk on her way out. "Any plans this weekend?" "Taking Sophie to Central Park," I said, "trying to get some sun before winter really hits." She nodded, then hesitated. "I'm glad you're doing better." "Me too. And for what it's worth, thank you. For noticing. For caring." She gave me a small smile, the kind I'd never seen from her before. "That's what good bosses do." "No," I said. "That's what good people do." She didn't respond, but something in her expression told me the words had landed. That night, after Sophie went to bed, I sat in the kitchen with a notebook and wrote down a thought that had been circling in my head for days. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is let someone see you're not okay. I read it over a few times, then closed the notebook. The bruise on my jaw was almost gone now, just a faint shadow, but the lesson it had taught me was still there, clear and solid. Being strong didn't mean suffering in silence. It didn't mean doing everything alone. It meant knowing when to accept help, when to let someone care, when to admit that you're human and fallible and doing the best you can. And maybe, just maybe, it meant letting yourself be surprised by the people around you, by their kindness, by their depth, by the ways they could see you, really see you, when you thought no one was looking. I'd spent 3 years convinced that Olivia Blackwell was exactly what she appeared to be, cold, detached, focused only on results. But that Tuesday morning, when she walked toward me with a breakfast tray and something almost like concern in her eyes, everything I thought I knew came apart. She'd seen me struggling and done something about it, not because she had to, not because it was her job, but because underneath that armor she wore to survive, she was human too. We both were. And sometimes that's all it takes. One moment of genuine care. One gesture that says, "I see you. You're not alone." Sometimes that's everything.
For more videos, please subscribe, like, and comment.